So come Sunday, about midday, you're probably going to be asking yourself, are all these newfound NRL geniuses know what they're talking about? Or are they just making it up as they go along? We're going to try to help you thanks to Dabble today. We are the Fair Dinkum Department. I'm Chris Danks. You, my friend, Liam O'Loughlin. We're going to decide if what you're about to hear is probably real or ridiculous. Should we start with referees?
Why not? It's been the talk of the town this final series, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it always is with refs. Adam G will be holding the main whistle for the game. Let's get into some stats from the Daily Telegraph this week. If you haven't read the story, give it a read. It's a giggle. So Penrith, they have a 91.4% win rate with G in the past 4 years. If you use a stat, that sounds very impressive. If you heard someone saying that, you'd be like, oh, maybe. They've done some research. Conversely, the Broncos, 31.3% win rate with G in the same time. Does anything jump out at you with that?
How stupid this argument is, sure.
Okay.
If you look at Penrith in the past 4 years, their win percentage is probably 80 plus quite comfortably.
Yeah, I think it's 89.
This is their fourth grand final in a row, and they're going for a three-peat of premierships. And Brisbane, in that same 4 year span, won a wooden spoon in 2020 and finished 15th in 2021. So I think this chat about any favoritism whatsoever towards Penrith this weekend, absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's putting unwarranted pressure on Adam G, who's done a fantastic job this year and really deserves his appointment, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly ridiculous. I think we can all agree with that. So if you do hear anyone saying that, shout them down immediately. But you're right, because there's going to be this narrative now where it's like, oh, well, this call was made and that's because there's a favoritism towards the Panthers. I don't know.
And then it could go on the flip side as well, whereas, where Broncos now get a couple of 50-50 calls and they win 14-12 or 18-16 or something like that, Penrith fans will be saying, oh, well, he's overcompensating for this perceived, great record that he's got. So, yeah, I don't like it. I think it's pretty ordinary, days out from the grand final, but drama follows wherever referees go.
I would have liked to see Sutton get the whistle, just so it could be like forward passes galore. Oh, people lose their minds.
Ash Klein's in the bunker, so there could still be some howlers. Don't you worry.
Ash Klein's a good ref. I won't hear it. All right, so starting off, ridiculous. One, easy. A forward will win the Clive Churchill medal. I think there's a fair bit of realness, and I love to be real because I've already said this. A forward to win the Clive Churchill medal. Let's look at some of the options. Payne Haas, Fisher Harris, Carrigan. Carrigan, very good shout. Yo, all big game players. Let's see, who's won it? Burgess? Brent Kite?
Willie Mason. They're the last three middle forwards to win it. Luke Lewis obviously got it for your mob in 2016. But if we're talking middle forwards, those are the three of the past 2 decades. But if you look at the crop that we just mentioned, and then you chuck in Moses Leota as well.
No Liam Martin?
Tom Flegler, just specifically middles, and then the back rowers for both teams are fantastic. So there is a very real possibility that a forward could get the Clive Churchill this year. So Dill Edwards got it last year, and he was a deserved winner. And, there does tend to be, a lean towards spine players, and that's usually the way that things go in man of the match awards. But if you look at guys like Pat Carrigan and Payne Haas, especially, and obviously Isaiah, he's an 80-minute player, but Carrigan and Haas, they play big minutes, and what they provide in the, probably 60 to 65-minute range that they do play week in and week out, and we've seen them do it at the representative arena as well. Obviously, Pat Carrigan's a former Wally Lewis medal winner, playing for Queensland, so they know what it takes to get the job done in big games, so I think they could certainly be in the mix.
What I like about it is looking at 1 to 17, if you're trying to go who's got the better for every single position, a lot of it interchangeable.
It's so tight, man on man on paper. It's ridiculous. You even look at like the back row. Yeah. I know Liam Martin is probably the form back row of the competition at the moment, but Jordan Ricky has had an outstanding season. There are a lot of doubts over him heading into this year and whether or not Brisbane were going to persist with him, because they have persisted with him for a few years and it hasn't quite worked out. But he's really repaid the faith. Kurt Capewell's a premiership winner as well, obviously his time at Penrith, and he's an experienced guy. And Scotty Sorensen, for a guy that's, probably perceived as a bit of a late bloomer, he's having a career season. He signed a long-term deal. So the forward packs for both sides are just insane, and the back lines are even better.
So forwards, possibly. Little stat to make yourself sound smart. 2 times. So twice. A hooker has won Clive Churchill. One was with the Bronx in 06. That was Sean Berrigan.
Sean Berrigan, yep.
Panthers, 03.
Luke
Priddis.
Yeah.
Which I find wild because you got Steve Walters, you got Cameron Smith, you got Danny Badiris. That's 8 premierships between them. I think 8 or 9. Never won Clive Churchill, especially Cameron Smith.
Cam Smith's a surprising one, but he did have a lot to compete with in those Melbourne Storm
decent
teams.
players.
Yeah. And 2 of those grand finals, they don't count either. So.
Oh, they 100% count. You know they do. Get over yourselves, footy fans. Either team to win by 12 points or less. Now, your mentor, North Star, and idol, Gustav Gould, has come out and said he likes lots. He wants Panthers, what?
20 plus, he said, yeah. I don't know about that, Gus. I love your work, mate, but I don't know about that. Let's look at the 2 times they've played each other this year.
Yep.
Round 1, Broncos 13, Penrith 12.
Yep.
Second time they played each other in round 12, I believe both teams were missing a few players. Penrith 15, Broncos 4. So low scoring games.
Yeah.
Which we're probably not accustomed to seeing, especially for Brisbane with the way they've attacked this year. And Penrith, obviously, star-studded side. But they've both been low-scoring games with, small winning margins. And I think the grand final, it's obviously going to be hot as well in Sydney on Sunday.
34-ish.
Yeah, beautiful. What else would you rather be doing in that weather than playing footy? But I can't see it being a blowout by any means.
Yeah. Well, easily the 2 best defensive sides.
100%.
In the comp.
Yeah. And that's usually the way that it tends to work out, is the 2 best defensive sides do end up in a grand final.
I've been told that.
Yeah. 6 points in terms of attack this year. Points scored separates them on the ladder from the regular season. And in the finals, this is a little stat for you. Both teams won by 26 points in the first week of the finals.
Ooh.
And then week 2, they both obviously had big wins. Penrith by 34 points, Broncos by 30 points. So they're clearly a class above the other 2 teams in the top 4. And I think they're going to be pretty evenly matched this weekend.
Question. So we're in YKTR's office at the moment. We're speaking to Ice, and he was saying about that maybe the Warriors did have the correct game plan against the Bronx. They just probably didn't have the cattle to execute it, especially when it comes to shutting down Reece Walsh. Thoughts, feelings?
I think if any team is going to be able to shut down what Reece Walsh has been able to do this season, both for the Broncos and for the Maroons, it's probably going to be Penrith.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I also think that Brisbane can probably look at the blueprint of how Queensland defended,
that's a really good point.
Nath Cleary, Jerome Luai, Isaiah Yeo. They can probably look at the blueprint there and think we've got something, especially with Paddy Carrigan in the middle of the field, and he's a leader for Brisbane and for Queensland. So, yeah, look, I'm thinking that it's going to be pretty close, and I'm thinking that either team by 12 points or less, real. Pour your friend a drink if they're saying that, because they're a smart man or woman. Moving on to farewells, Herbie Farnworth, Stephen Crichton, both leaving. They are.
Farnworth Dolphins, 15 tries in 25 games.
Not bad.
I don't know why I'm surprised, but it just seems more than I thought it would be. Crichton moving the Dogs, 14 tries, 23 games. Both of them to score in their last game, just a last little farewell.
I absolutely love it.
Oh!
Absolutely love it. Stephen Crichton is someone that can find the line in a grand final.
Big game player.
Sorry, Cody Walker. And Herbie this weekend, this is one to watch out for. Isaac Tungo last weekend against Melbourne, he came back from a pec injury. It's the second time he's been sidelined with a pec injury this season. He's a fantastic player. I'm a massive fan of him, but he looked below his best defensively. He was bumped off by Justin Olam at one stage. Didn't have that same physicality that we've seen, throughout his first 2 seasons in the top grade. So I think that could be something that Brisbane look to exploit. And when you've got someone as explosive as Herbie Farnworth opposing him, I think I'm not going to put the M word, the moral on it, but I think he's a very, very good chance of crossing for a 4-pointer. And Stephen Crichton, big game player. They know to get him the ball. And I think they'll look to do that for sure.
Respectfully, all of that makes sense. I would say ridiculous.
Okay.
For Farnworth.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
I know. And I saw old mate in the post game after the Storm, and he did not look right. I just think if one of them was to score, it's going to be Stephen Crichton.
Okay.
They base so much of their offense around him.
Yeah.
I think he will. I don't think both will score. That's just me, though.
Fair enough.
There's a reason that I have $0.35 in my current betting account. On to the final one. We're talking dropouts, forced dropouts. Reynolds and Cleary to combine for 5+ forced dropouts. What does history tell us about both those players?
Very surprisingly, you would think Adam Reynolds, what's he most known for? It's his short kicking game. And kicking game in general, but especially his short kicking game. This year, only 12 forced dropouts in 22 appearances for the Broncos, which by no means is that a bad stat, but it's probably less than a lot of people would expect. Nathan Cleary, on the flip side, 22 forced dropouts in 21 appearances for Penrith this year. Damn. Puts him right up there with the likes of Sean Johnson for the NRL this season. 5 forced dropouts. What are you thinking? Are we seeing the fullbacks or the wingers getting trapped in goals a few times come Sunday night? I
think the game will be played between the two 20s. I don't think there'll be... I don't see either side being camped down on their line for sets and sets and sets. I know they're both great defensive teams, but I just think the packs are so great. That's where most of the fight's going to be. I think there'll be more tries scored from outside the 20. I don't think there'll be enough opportunity for 5+ forced dropouts.
I'm going ridiculous. I'm going ridiculous as well. Dylan Edwards, as we know, is up there with Clint Gutherson, probably is the best positional fullback in the NRL, and Reece Walsh, Selwyn Cobbo, Jesse Arthurs, they've got a lot of speed. So if they do find themselves in a tricky situation, I'm backing them to burn someone one-on-one to get themselves out. But like you said, I think this is going to be very much an end-to-end kind of game. I can't see too many repeat sets of 6 on either team's line, because I think if either team gets down there, they're probably a fair chance of scoring pretty quickly, just given the amount of strike power that they've got. So I'm going to say ridiculous for 5 forced dropouts in the grand final.
Well done. Toy gun to your head. Who are you going with?
Bronx 1-12. Herbie Farnworth anytime.
Oh.
And Paddy Carrigan, Clive Churchill.
Very nice.
Yourself?
Panthers.
Okay.
1-12. Anytime. I want to put Reece Walsh in there, but that's being greedy. I like Nathan Cleary.
Okay.
As my guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do think they always tend to lean towards halves, but let's see one of the big men get the Clive Churchill.
Like if Fish could get it, that'd be
awesome, wouldn't it?
Fantastic.
I think I backed him for it last year as well. I was disappointed he didn't get over the line. He owes me, yep.
All right, there's the gospel from us. Keep all your friends accountable. Don't let them get away with any NRL gibber, and we'll see you next time.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.